What's up, friends, and welcome to 5-Minute Reviews. This is a new series on my channel where I'm going to try to provide as much information as I can in 5 minutes or less so that you'll have all the information you need as to choose to whether you'd want to watch this film or show or not. So in that, I'm going to be very curtailed, I'm going to be very quick, but the goal of this is to pique your interest into these new shows, these new films, and so on and so forth, and just give you a glimpse as to what's in them so you can figure out if it's the perfect match for you or not. So today we're going to be reviewing Godzilla Singular Point. Godzilla Singular Point is a new Netflix anime that just came out in 2021. It only has one season so far with 13 episodes, and each episode is exactly 24 minutes long. So Godzilla Singular Point follows a group of ragtag individuals who essentially are tasked with investigating a series of outbreaks of these creatures that appear seemingly out of nowhere that are terrorizing Tokyo and surrounding cities. These creatures are kind of dinosaur-like. Essentially, there's dinosaurs coming out, and these group of 4 individuals have to figure out as to where they're coming from, why they're coming, and how to stop them, essentially. So now, in terms of characters, right off the bat, the 4 main characters are relatively likable. They're all fun characters that are different in personality, but they're all the same in terms of they're scrappy, they're unrecognized, they're people who are highly skilled in their specialties, but aren't necessarily well known, or, they're kind of like the underdogs. They're dynamic, and them working together becomes more engaging as time goes on. Also, in terms of characters, I think there's 2 standouts that have to be mentioned and kind of steal the show often are Pelops 2, who's like this automated AI robot, as well as Jet Jaguar, who's this robot built by Goro, the old man, who gains a conscience and starts to help these characters essentially battle these monsters. The villains in the show are a little bit underdeveloped. Some of their intentions are not as clear, and even by the end of the show you're going to have a little bit of skepticism as to why they're doing what they're doing. Nevertheless, the 4 main characters kind of steal the show and are definitely prioritized. In terms of if it holds your attention or not, the show is engaging, and there's constant development in the plot to help keep you engaged, and as the mystery envelops, you get more into it. I will say the mystery is relatively straightforward. What's cool is the science behind what is happening. The phenomenon that's happening is relatively intricate in terms of it involves time travel and time manipulation and some really cool physics and ideas that are relatively engaging to think about. They're not discussed deeply in this show, but if you take them out of the context and start thinking about them more as to what they actually mean, as to implications, as to if something like this could happen, they're very engaging altogether, and they have some really meaningful real-life application. As the show progresses, more creatures come out and are discovered. It's not to the level of some other shows where it's really well-developed ecosystem, really well-developed world. More, it's sporadic instances of these creatures attacking Tokyo and the cities, and making these characters more motivated to find out what's happening and stop it, because the attacks just get worse and worse. Now, we'll renew, Godzilla doesn't appear until later in the series, and when he does, in my personal opinion, I don't like how he looks in the show. That could be up to you. I love his beam, it looks super sick, but I think he looks kind of dumb in the show. I think he looked better in the film Godzilla vs. King Kong or the previous films, but that's up to your interpretation. He doesn't have the largest role in this show, but I'm sure as more seasons come out, he will have a bigger role moving forward. Now, contrary to the movies, he is not necessarily the good guy in this show. Not that he ever was, but he's not necessarily the good guy, so don't expect him to be working with the team or working with anybody. He's very much a creature, something that is capable of a lot of destruction. In terms of what's unique about the show, I think a call out that needs to be made is the music. First of all, the first song, and it's kind of like the call that calls all these monsters, the song that can be heard throughout the entire show is stunning. It's mesmerizing, it catches your attention instantly. Absolutely beautiful song, and I'll play a clip of it right now. Stunning, right? And that itself does a great job of keeping you interested. Beyond that, the show does have other musical soundtrack elements and other music that helps to add another element of awesomeness to the show. So the music and the soundtrack of the show is really well done. In terms of animation, I think the show is subpar. The creatures really look like toys, which was kind of disappointing to me, as I would have thought they would have been prioritized. The characters look great. Action and animation is relatively fluid, sometimes a little bit choppy, but the creatures really look like they were attempted to be 3D, failed a little bit, and as such, they look kind of blocky and don't maneuver as smoothly. And because of that, that part is a little bit of letdown. For kids, which I think is the target audience of the show, and I think is the audience that is going to enjoy the show the most, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. But if you are someone who is picky about their animation, this might not be the show for you. In terms of who would like the show, I already teased it a little bit earlier, but really the show was going to be best for younger audiences, for children and people who don't mind a little bit of creature action violence, but mainly are going to be invested in the four main characters and going to be invested in this mystery that's unraveling. The science might fly over a lot of the kids' heads, but this would be a good show to watch with your kid because the science is engaging and will engage older audiences, but the events that occur and what essentially the adventure aspect of this whole situation is very much aimed towards kids, and kids aged between 10 and 15, 10 and 18. Those audiences are really going to like this show the most. If you're a fan of the Godzilla franchise, then I do recommend this show. I don't think it stays true to necessarily all of the elements of the Godzilla franchise and what's been built before, but it is a cool addition. It adds some unique factors into the world and into the ecosystem, and it's a relatively fun ride. So if you're looking for an anime series that's short, fun, suitable and friendly for kids, but also has an element of science fiction that is engaging for a little bit of an older audience, this is a show for you. Let me in the comments below if you do check out Godzilla Singular Point and what you think about it. For Godzilla Singular Point, I rated it 2 out of 4, as in you can watch in the background. I only recommend it if you're interested in Godzilla, or like as I mentioned before, if you're watching with your kid or so. It is easy to watch in the background. So now moving on to the Parent's Guide. In terms of action, I gave this show a 3 out of 5. There's only creature action, and it's usually more terror than actual violence. You rarely see the creatures kill humans. It's more the show always cuts before any actual, death or damage occurs. The creatures do spray like a red fluid, which kind of looks like blood. It's not supposed to be blood, but essentially beware if you are really against violence, because there is creature violence. In this show, there's no sexual content whatsoever, not even a joke or reference of any kind. And then in terms of language, there's also no language, just a couple thematic moments that can be stressful. But other than that, the show is very clean, and because of that, if you are okay with the violence, if you are okay with a little bit of creature violence, this show should be suitable for younger audiences.